I'm Julie. I am going to talk about up leveling your leadership today. I'm going to start from a place of drawing out the comp plan. So you remember last week, Joanne got on the team call and she gave us the homework of drawing out the comp plan. Okay, well, I know how to do that well with like a value pack, but I got to be really honest. It's not congruent to me because I don't necessarily sell value packs. I will someday. I am going to get there. But for now, my niche, if you think about your niche as like your former self, one step prior, that's who you can relate to the most. And because you're one step ahead of them, you can cast vision to get them where you are, like give them the tracks to run on. But you don't have to like discredit where you're at and be so much further down the road, because that actually in their mind, from their perspective, disqualifies you to be able to even speak to them, because they're like, I cannot relate to you. So that's really helped with my mindset and understanding my credibility, that my niche is my former self because I've been there, and all I have to be is one step ahead of them. I don't have to be at my goal. So I am very goal driven. And if I'm not at my goal, then I can get into a comparison mindset and start kind of, it just messes with my credibility. So you've got to be really sure on your credibility to be able to be really sure to share the comp plan. The comp plan is kind of scary when it's not congruent to yourself. I'll just put it that way. So you share the comp plan congruent to yourself. So I've spent a couple hours this past week looking at the Chris Harder video, starting at like the 38-minute mark. I looked at how other people do it, and then I learned, how do I want to do this for me? So I still have it up here, and I kind of want to do it again because I recorded it once and messed up, tried like a couple different times, but really all the way through, it was like the first time I had ever done it. So I uploaded it, which I'm so proud of myself, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to fail forward. I'm going to fail. I think that's hard for me. I don't like failing at all, but being willing to fail is the only way that you're going to be able to move forward. So, okay, so the homework was to draw out the comp plan, and that was very intertwined with who I'm speaking to, right? So if you're speaking to your former self or your niche, I have a bunch of questions that I can add underneath. I'll say them all right now, but I can add them in text form, or Meredith can write them out, or whatever you want. Questions to help you find your person and help you speak to the pain points. Because I know we all know this, we hear it all the time, that our passion is not going to, it's going to affect people, but they are going to make decisions based on their pain points. So as we speak to their pain points, but we remain like solution driven, we speak to we meet them in their pain, but we speak to the solution, right? We offer that to them. So we've got to figure out who we're talking to, and I can list all of those questions out. But for right now, the first question I want to ask is, how do you want to up level your leadership this month? So I know that, like for me, my tendency is to have a goal for maybe after celebration, or, oh, when school starts in this fall, I'm going to start this type of goal. But for this month, for right now, I want you to write out a goal of how you want to up level your leadership. I'm just going to give an example. For me, I want to learn how to be more professional with what I do. So I know how to naturally share and kind of like, drip on people here and there. But for me, this month, I want to learn how to up level my professionalism. So then the next question I would ask you is, what are 3 things in yourself holding you back from professionalism in your business, or for you, whatever your thing is for this month? What are 3 things holding you back? So I wrote scarcity mindset. There's not enough time. There's not enough this. There's not enough that. Scarcity mindset. time, that was my second one, and then my message. So the two examples that I can give you, just because I really like talking through, seeing what other people kind of do to dig into their heart and their mindset, and then it kind of helps me figure out where to go. So my example was, time. So how do we create more time? I wrote out the questions: how much do you make per week, and how much do you work per week? I know it sounds really simple, but if you look at wanting to up level your leadership, it means you can't keep doing the same thing. Things have to change. You have to change. Your mindset has to change. Your amount of time you're investing in this has to change. That's a part of up leveling. So I'm just going to give a very generic answer, example. If you make $250 a week and you work 5 hours a week, then you're worth $50 an hour. So is what you're doing, so my example is cleaning my house. Is cleaning my house worth $50 an hour? No. This one's hard for me. I want to be a good steward of my time. I want to be a good steward of my money. I want to be a good steward of my things. So for me, I was putting being a good steward of my things above all the rest of, the time and money portion, because I was like, hey, this is what's been given to me. I need to be able to keep track of it and do it well. Then I realized, no, if I'm not being a good steward of my time, then I'm not being a good steward of my things. So is what you're doing worth $50 an hour? Let's just give that as an example. Okay. And then write out, what is your goal per month that you'd like to make? So let's just give an example of $5,000 a month. You want to go from, if it's $250 a week, so you want to go from $1,200 a month, which, you're getting your products paid for, you're doing great. Maybe that was a goal to begin with, but you want to up level your leadership to $5,000 a month. How do you do that? How much time does that take? Can you do five hours and make $5,000? Okay, well, we understand the concept of residual income, of if you put in the time once, then it is consistently going to be there. You put in the time one time. Well, that means you have to be willing to put in the time one time, right? So going from $1,200 to $5,000, you have to work from 5 hours. You have to do the math. 5 hours goes to 21 hours. So then when you're looking on paper and going, I have to give this 21 hours a week to be able to have the output of $5,000 a month. There has to be a season of your life of growth where you're up leveling your leadership. Yes, you only have to do that once, but a lot of people, and me included, I get stuck, or I would get stuck in the mindset of like, I'm going to keep plugging away with my 5 hours a week, and my income's going to grow and grow and grow. And yes, it could. But if you look at like, what's it going to take for me to up level and actually make this $5,000 a month versus $12,000 or $1,200 a month, then it's going to take 21 hours. So I challenge you to really do the homework of doing the math for you, what that looks like. So write out those questions and figure out how many hours you need to work a week to be able to up level your leadership and make the amount of money that you want to make. So you can push and have a growth season of, okay, 21 hours a week, maybe this fall I'm going to commit to that. And then it can shift after that, right? Maybe you want to up level it again and keep going. Maybe you want to kind of pull back and stay at $5,000 a month. Whatever, you can make this business whatever you want it to be, but to be able to get to that up leveling, you've got to be willing to change and actually do something about it, because sitting around waiting for it to happen and then getting discouraged and quitting because it didn't happen is just going to cause you to fail. So as I've done that for the past year, waiting for it to happen, and I've failed, right? Failed. I'm learning. I have to be willing to do the work to move forward, or my business doesn't grow, right? Okay. So that's my time example. So my message example goes into the questions. And the first one, I won't go into all my all my answers, but I do want to give some of them as examples. What are their biggest 3 pain points? So you're thinking of your avatar, your niche, your people that your core people of who you want to talk to. What are their 3 biggest pain points? So I'm just going to give an example. Hang on, I lost my paper. Money, quality of time with family, and connecting with their spouse. So for me, those are my 3. I'm just giving examples. So the next one is, how can you solve these pain points? So we can solve it with the comp plan, right? With money, with with products giving them energy. You can solve the pain points with products giving energy, increasing quality time of family time, and share with friends and get paid. And then investment in their marriage. So you're looking at, how can you solve these pain points? Okay, so then number 3, hang on, I'm losing track. What are their 3 biggest desires? What are their 3 biggest desires? I put make an impact, invest in their kids, and support their husband. How can you meet them? So leader training, helping people, resources for parenting, the comp plan allowing for more quality time with them, and the comp plan taking financial burden off of them. Those are just my examples. Okay, the next question is, what is the biggest result you can deliver in their life or business? I'm going to say that one again. What is the biggest result you can deliver in their life or business? I put joy, quality, and simplicity. I love simplicity. What makes this person get stuck in their growth or progress? Remember, you're kind of talking to your former self or talking about your former self. What makes this person get stuck in their growth or progress? I put clarity on vision, not having tracks to run on, and then money mindset. What do they think they need? What do they think they need? Things happening for them. More time, more money, help with kids, tools. Those are just some examples. What keeps them up at night? This is where you really get into pain points. What keeps them up at night? Health concerns, how to lose that last 15 pounds to feel their best, worrying about bills were some of the examples. How does that make them feel? So keep digging, right? Overwhelmed, tired, devalued, stuck, like a failure, lost, and waiting for help were some of my examples. What do they Google when they are looking for a solution? This is super important. Very practical, right? Easy ways to make money, how to lose weight safely, research to see side-by-side comparisons. I'm like one of those persons. Pros and cons of companies. That's a big one. What frustrates them? What keywords do they use to describe their frustration? So what keywords do they use to describe their frustration? I put, or what frustrates them the most is misguided information, so much info they do nothing, and then staying stagnant. So that's like typical American culture right there, right? How do they act when they are completely hopeless? This is so important, you guys, because sometimes we can talk to people and we're like, is our message valuable to them? Can we actually help them? Like, hey, I'll kind of like nonchalantly put this in front of you, and if you want it, here it is. But think in your brain, how do they act when they are completely hopeless? Because that person is different than the person that's right in front of you that you're speaking to. The person that's right in front of you that you're speaking to can be very intimidating. But if you think of how do they act when they're completely hopeless, is how they act, what they're Googling at 12 p.m. at night. You need to speak to that person, that subconscious in them, because it's in there 100%. So I put quiet, lifeless, hurt, emotional, and trying to fill the void. So those were just some of my examples to get your wheels turning. Okay, last question is, what is the cost to them of you not solving this problem for them? I know Meredith asks this all the time, but that's how I'm going to wrap it up. What's the cost to them You've got to stay focused on that. So I put giving up their freedom. You know, you can think of time freedom, financial freedom, their physical freedom, their energy, life with kids, sanity, ability to thrive, but then overall they remain complacent. So this is the part where you can then, after you've spoken to the pain points and spoken in a way where you're directing it towards a solution, then you can have the mindset of, hey, this is yours to run after if you want it. That's when you can have that mindset, but not before. Because if you have that mindset before and you're not speaking to the pain points or offering solutions, then you're doing them a huge disservice. They don't know what they're saying no to, right? So those were some of my examples of questions. And then I want you to ask yourself, where did you get stuck? So what's one big thing of what holds you back? Cassandra, I love that you're doing laundry right now. That makes me happy. It's real life. Yeah, where did you get stuck? And I think for me, just an example, because I like the starting point, is credibility. So if you go back to credibility of like, who am I to speak to this person at all? I can get stuck there. But if you ask the question of, okay, well, what makes me credible? So remember my example in the beginning was you're making $1,200 a month and you'd like to make $5,000 a month. Well, if you stay in that place of being goal driven, and I'm not at $5,000 a month, so I'm not credible enough to speak into this. But if you give value, place value on what you've already accomplished. So that's huge. Place value on what you have already accomplished. So my example of $1,200 a month, right? No, it's not $5,000 a month, but $1,200 a month is much more than zero. How did you get there? You have the tracks to run on of how you got to $1,200 a month, right? So giving yourself credibility and your voice, and how, yeah, like, how did you get there? So write it out. Hang on one second. So I have to find, oh man, I lost it. Place value on what you've already done. And you can give the example, like for me, what works for me is I'm not the overnight example, but I can tell you what I did. And so that at least you're being congruent to you. So all of that goes into drawing out the comp plan. For me, remember in the beginning I said I can draw out the comp plan with the value pack examples, but for me and what's congruent to me right now is helping those middle line people actually jump. They're actually willing to give it a go, right? So I use the example, Meredith, is it called the everyday pack? Whatever it's, you know, if you start them on, like I gave the example of $200 a month of, hey, and you can go watch the video if you want to on the team thing of what will $200 a month investing do for you? So if you're going to invest, some people put $200 a month away into savings, $500 a month into savings every month. Let me show you how to multiply that, right? And so I did this whole comp plan drawing out of investing $200 a month instead of going into the full value pack $600 a month, because I don't know if this is a mindset thing, but at least for me right now, that's not congruent to where my headspace is at. So if I can get super passionate about the comp plan with where my headspace is at, start there. That's not wrong. You don't have to be somebody else and, you know, teach to the value pack if that's not your headspace yet. So I don't know. I just want to give the little people permission to start where they're at and grow from there. It's one step at a time. So you can go watch that video if you want to, but I gave the $200 a month, drew it out till executive, but then I wrapped it around to the Chris Harder call starting at 38 minutes and like the residual income and the power of 2 and the compound effect of that and what it would look like. So I wrapped that up into my comp plan video, because that's where the power comes in. That's where the excitement comes in. Like, yes, all these bonuses are great, but you know, for the general public, Bonuses are a turnoff. I'm just going to say it. Some people are really driven by bonuses, but to the general public, it seems scammy, or it seems unrealistic, or it seems like, oh, okay, I can only get paid if. So if that's their mindset and what shuts them down, then okay, draw out like what the bonuses would be, but explain. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be executive at all. I would absolutely recommend you get there. But let me show you how the power of two, and you fail 90% of the time, you can still make $70,000 a year. Let me show you. Is that interesting to you? If you fail 90% of the time in your current job, would you get paid what you get paid? No, you'd get fired. Absolutely. So that's kind of that's congruent to me right now, because this year I'm all about failing forward. So if I can fail forward 90% of the time and still make $70,000 a year, I can relate to that, because that's where my mindset is. So if you're speaking to your former self in your niche, you don't have to be making $5,000 a month yet. You don't have to be the millionaire, because our brains can get into that comparison mindset really quick, and it causes us to be stagnant and complacent, and then it just spirals. So if you put value on what you've already accomplished, even $200 a month, and I think Joanne said it last week, but like 80% of marriages would be drastically different if there was just $200 a month to put towards debt, or, you know, what women like to do, pampering themselves like a little bit once a month. I think that's great. I think for me, I've gone from being a stay-at-home mom to doing this on the side about 5 hours a week. And my mindset was 5 hours a week is almost impossible to find. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4. 5 hours is like, yeah, right. So I didn't have that headspace. It took me a while to get there. Now that I'm there, I need to have the headspace to be like giving it 20 hours a week. Okay, if I give it 20 hours a week, what could I make? And then, because you do the work one time, then you make that and you continue to make that. It's not like, oh, I made it once and it's gone. If you casted the vision well, you continue to make that money. So is that worth it for you to have a season, pick a season of 20 hours a week or whatever it is for you, to be able to up level your leadership and gain clarity on who your people are, who you're speaking to, why you're speaking to them, and you're speaking to that subconscious in them of that hopelessness that they feel. How do you speak hope into them without actually speaking the word hope? Because you don't want to have empty words. You want to have powerful words. So if you're speaking to that subconscious, and not letting the person in front of you intimidate you, because I was that person, right, Meredith? I, on the outside, like, nope, I got it all together. It's fine. I'm good. Nothing's wrong. I'm just going to wait for something to change. That was me. It's kind of embarrassing to say it that way. But if you're speaking to the subconscious and you're driven by, a solution, you're solution driven, then you can up level your leadership by treating it more professional. So take the questions at the beginning of the call to figure out where you need to up level your leadership. What are 3 things standing in your way of getting there? And then answer all those questions for your ideal client. You'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about who you're called to, right? And then you'll realize all these no's that I'm getting from all these other people, well, they're not my ideal client anyway. So that no doesn't have an impact on me. You know, I know Michelle Schaefer, I couldn't remember her name. Michelle Schaefer is really good about, like, you go for 10 no's a week. You are trying to get those no's. That was something that really helped me learn how to fail forward in the beginning, for sure. But I think for now, I think it's making me realize those no's aren't as impactful to me because they weren't my people to begin with anyway, you know? So, Meredith, do you have any questions for me to draw out more in my brain of what I have?
I love it. Oh, you might not be able to hear me. Okay, I love everything that you're saying. I'm in a library. I'm so sorry. So really quickly, I wanted to just have you, because when we were on Voxer just a minute ago, you were saying this girl is perfect for network marketing for Isagenix. She just doesn't know it yet. So let's just play, we'll just play for a minute, and you having that posture and no expectation, and what are you going to say to her? Like, you just practice and say, okay, this is what I'm going to say to her because she is, and you're going to give a ton of compliments of why this is perfect for her. I just think that'd be kind of fun for you to just kind of play and say that.
Okay. So this person is in a corporate job right now. She makes really good money. But she's been in for about 13 years now, and she is going into about, having teenagers. She's got younger kids. They're just kind of in the middle. They're almost teenagers. So she's looking at hey, I want to be home more. And I think what we can do is either my husband or I need to pick the career job, and the other person just needs to support the family. So that's the role she's going into, right? So she had told me, I'm going to spend the next year paying off my debt so that when I don't have a job anymore, we can just live off of his income comfortably, and then we won't need mine anymore. Man, isn't that amazing? She's like, oh, if I could just get this debt paid off, then I would do this, right? So I think for me, I would, I kind of already did. I kind of planted a couple seeds, but I would start from the place of if I could help you pay off that debt, would you let me? And just pique some interest. And obviously that is going to be met with skepticism. So just be prepared for it. It's duh. Of course you're going to get skepticism. So if she's like, yeah, no, then I like having a couple tidbits of explaining to them of hey, this is a nutrition business that I'm really upfront about network marketing company. I don't say, oh, I own this business, or I have a whatever. You figure out your terminology. For me, I like being upfront and saying, hey, yeah, I run a network marketing company. It's called Isagenix. Have you ever heard of it? And if they're like, oh yeah, most of the time they're like, yeah, I think I know something about that. I just kind of go into my story of hey, I was really skeptical about this, but I've actually learned over the past 5 years using this nutrition during 2 pregnancies that it does actually work, and I really enjoy it. It could be a blessing to your family. And she's like, oh yeah, great. Well, all I've done right there is just focused on my passion. I haven't introduced or spoken into her pain at all yet, right? So if she's kind of allowing the conversation, because some people don't even allow the conversation after you say network marketing. So if she's allowing the conversation still, then I can talk to her about hey, I use a couple of keywords. It just depends on the person, but for her, I say hey, you eat your overhead. You don't have to, you're not like your direct sales with purses or nails. So if you eat your overhead, it's going to feed your family. What do you think about, I just kind of drop the hint of investing $200 a month. And then telling them hey, you invest $200 a month, and I can show you how to turn that into, and then just, paying off your debt. I don't give a number. I use an example of speaking to their pain point. I can show you how that can pay off your debt monthly. I'd love to help you with that. It's really fun for me. And then I kind of go into, I don't know if this is okay, but I go into kind of validating myself a little bit, and how I'm after people's hearts. I'm not after helping them make money. Yes, that's great, but my primary motivation is to honestly meet their need, because they're going to have a better life. So if I validate my goal of speaking to their heart and meeting their need emotionally, more so than meeting their need through finances, then to me that's more congruent to me. So if you're more And remember, I'm trying to up level my leadership of being able to be more professional. So I think that's going to be something that has to change, of just speaking more to the business mindset rather than emotional. But I like explaining to them of where my heart's at so that they know that what I'm saying is valid. Is that fair to say? So yeah, then I would talk to this person about how they can make residual income and the power of doing the work once. And, I'd kind of go more in, I wouldn't fully go into like the comp plan back here of executive, but I would mostly go into the Chris Harder, 38-minute mark of the compound effect of the power of two and what that would look like. So then that casts a vision for like, okay, so I enroll 2 people and this compound effect actually does work. I see that numbers wise. I see that, salary wise. So this might be worth my time looking into. So if you're going to approach somebody more of like on the comp plan side first, and then talk to them about the nutrition, that would be the route that I take and how I explain that to them. And then I would just share product with them. I would say, here, you're going to love this. This is what I've experienced, and try it. Tell me what you think. Tell me like what you love and what you don't love. I would put product in front of them, and that's where you just have to know that that's adding value to them. And then it's, investing in your business. So I give away a lot of product.
And that's really important to have product on you so that, like, even if you're on an airplane or an elevator or whatever, that you're sharing that. Oh, excuse me. Don't do that.
Given Meredith the time if she didn't share product.
Right. Well, it sells itself. And so like, just like the same thing, the top down, you're going to offer the business to them. If it's not for them, the product always is. So something that I would put in there is, so like I did actually with Julie's husband, is I said, so there was a complete block on network marketing. So when that block, or if that block happens, automatically, with no expectation, just saying, wow, it sounds like you have a story. Tell me about that. Like, what do you know? What's happened? Can you explain to me like your history or what you think I'm talking about? Because typically what they think you're talking about is not correct, or it is true for possibly that company's. So being able to, redirect that and saying, yeah, wow, yeah, I'm so sorry, or wow, they quit. Typically the person they know just quit, or whatever, or how different the compensation plan and company is. So anyways, that can lead into that. And just, you're very, like, if Brady wanted to do it, great. If he didn't, I just wanted to educate him and say, yeah, wow, there are a lot of terrible companies out there. Just like if working for Starbucks or like Peet's Coffee, they're different owners, different, same with Costco versus Target, like they're different. And so you having that conversation and making it very just matter of fact and professional, like Julie said, but taking it then, if they're not, you can just read, you've got to be able to read people's bodies and not assume, and then just saying, okay, you've got to try this product. Like she said, she's setting an expectation. It's fabulous. You're going to fall in love. You're going to have this, this, and this happen to you. I can't wait for you to put it in your body. There, and maybe like, depending on, I get really excited. So that's something I had to learn, but, knowing when to ask for the referral. So maybe this isn't for you, maybe you circle back, but maybe this isn't for you, but who do you know who I can partner with, who is, and I've done this before and the person was offended. So saying like, who is driven and motivated and, like you're saying all these things. And they're like, well, what about me? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Like if you're interested, someone who understands investment, someone who understands side businesses and wants to make a side income, who do you know who's interested in that? Then they're like, okay, she's actually serious. She's actually running a business and I want to help her because I like her, whatever. So yeah, but I love everything you said, Julie. I think it's amazing. And you gave us so much homework. And here's the thing I wanted to highlight is that Julie did the homework. And so, you're not going to get better. You'll probably fail 100% of the time if you're not going to go and do the homework and what's asked of you. And so Julie is doing the homework. So here's the homework for us. Let's go take 10 minutes right now, sit down and write this out. It's very important that you do the work. You can't just get on these training calls and be like, I'm going to be a millionaire. That's not going to happen.
Got to do the work. All right, so I will add in now. Maybe you've done the questions in the chat bar, but I'll kind of post it in the Facebook group as homework of what exactly to do. And I'll do that right now. But I would say spend the next 10 minutes as we're finishing early to continue because you already have this time blocked out anyway. Text it into your phone if you have to, write it down, type it out, whatever you need to do. Just get it on paper so that you can learn and grow and go from there. And then if you didn't do the homework from last week of drawing out the comp plan, I really challenge you to do that congruent to yourself. So if the value pack is congruent to you, great, run with it, go with it. If it's not congruent to who you attract and your former self, then figure out what that investment would be and how they would get there. Like give them a timeline of this is when you're going to get your products paid for, and this is when you're going to invest in event, and this is when you're going to have food for your whole family to eat. And this is like, give them those benchmarks as you go through. So they're watching and going like, okay, 3 months in, then I'm, and so I know that that may sound like you're promising them the world, but they've got to do the work to get there. You're just casting the vision and saying, this is what's possible. And when you run on this track, this is what will happen. But when they don't run on that track, that doesn't mean that you're not delivering what you've promised. It just means that they didn't do the work to get there, and that's on them, not you. So yeah, couple things for homework, and spend the next 10 minutes writing stuff out. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, Julie. Bye.